is Morten from INKISH again, and we are about to have our fantastic second session here of today. And we have Paolo, and actually we also have Matt. And it's not because he doesn't want to appear, but his webcam caused him some issues. But at least we can see a nice shadow of him. I didn't have time enough to find a photo of you, Matt.
That's right. That's right. It is genuinely my camera. I have an 8-month-old daughter at home, and it's not because I had a bad night's sleep and I'm hiding my face. I do actually have a genuine camera issue, so apologies for that.
No worries. So Paolo, I spoke to Matt the other day, so I will get back to him in a second. But this is the first time you are with me here on our Learn With Us finishing line. You work for a very exciting company right now. So tell us a little bit about your endeavors these days.
Thank you, Morten, and good morning, everyone. Yes, I do work for a very interesting company on a very interesting project. That's the reason why a year ago I decided to make a big jump in my life, in my career, joining Actega Metal Print for this venture on Ecoleaf, which is a disruptive solution to create embellishment, metallization in particular, removing completely the foil from the equation. So it's a completely plastic-free and totally sustainable process.
One thing is that you want to remove the foil, but you will also eliminate, because basically with Ecoleaf, as I understand it, you have I know we're going to talk about technology, but very simply said, it basically means that you apply to the material where you want to add metallization some kind of, I call it a glue, let's call it whatever it is, yeah. And then basically, instead of having a foil where you only use fractions of it, you basically only apply the metallization where you have it. So that means you avoid the foiling, but you also only use the metallization that you actually need for that particular area, right?
You avoid the waste, yes, exactly. The waste, the unnecessary waste that foils bring along with the process, because that's the way it is.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of people, of course, have read and heard and seen, and as you know, I also spoke to your colleague Stefan Plentz just a few weeks ago. I was just wondering, it's not a secret that you acquired the technology from Rolanda years ago and have been continuing developing this for years. Can you say anything about what is the difficulty? I mean, it takes time to get things to market, I understand, but what is the difficulty? What is the challenge when you look at Ecoleaf as a technology?
Yeah, it's basically a stabilization issue. Mm-hmm. Now, you need to think to an Ecoleaf unit a little bit like an offset tower, but let's go back like 100 years ago. Offset was a very unstable process because you need to keep at very high speed this water and ink balance. And at every spin, you want the blanket to pick up as good as possible the ink and to separate as much as possible from water, and then as fast as possible to transfer ink to the substrate. Well, we have today, where Ecoleaf is on its day one, exactly the same kind of issue. So it's the spinning speed that where we want to stabilize our cocktail and keep it completely separate water from metal flakes. So that's what is really the difficulty.
And I feel for you, because if we talk about offset 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it was only 8,000 sheets an hour. Now we have something that is completely faster. So you start on a higher difficulty level, right? And so that's one thing. Another thing I also want to, for the audience, just to understand that is Ecoleaf is actually not like it is kind of digital, but it's not digital because the transfer process itself is analog, right? So basically, so you can't compare it to like the digital embellishment machines we see from Kurtz and from Scodex and from MGI, because it's a totally different. You don't have an inkjet head that applies anything to.
We do.
You do.
Let me correct you.
Yeah.
Morten. So yes, Ecoleaf itself. So the metallization process is a totally analogic process. As I say, this you can shortly describe it like an offset unit. Okay, But the way we apply our trigger image,
That
which
is
is
an
what you
inkjet
define
device,
like a glue,
basically, or
that can be either flexo or flatbed screen or digital. And there, if you go for an inkjet print bar, there you have a complete digital process, same like the digital foiling processes. So our portion is to substitute the foil, not the process in which we apply the glue.
okay. Actually, I knew that, so I feel a little bit stupid that I said it wrong. Damn it. Okay, but that's how it is when things are live, that you can't prepare yourself good enough for saying the things that is just bullshit. Matt, we can't see you, but I know you're there. So, why is Ecoleaf interesting? I mean, because you invited Paolo to participate as your guest on this show here. Why is Paolo and Ecoleaf interesting for ABG?
Oh, it's incredibly interesting for us, Morten. We sell a lot of equipment into the embellishment space and have done for many years for finishing of wine labels, cosmetic labels, you name it, anything with foil or screen on. We have machines out there all around the world producing very high-end labels and packaging. And for us, the ability to have a more sustainable embellishment process was really exciting for us. And we started talking to Actega probably, I don't know, Paolo, 3 or 4 years ago, I guess, maybe longer.
Just when Paolo started, then, or actually before.
Before Paolo started, yes. And I remember seeing the original technology on the Lander booth many years ago at Drupa. And we see this as an exciting it's an exciting technology for ABG to be able to leverage, first of all, and to offer our customers a way to produce their labels and packaging in a more sustainable way, because sustainability is here to stay. It's front and center of everyone's mind, and this is one solution that we would like to bring to market. And we're very excited about this partnership, and great to have Paolo on the call with me today.
Of course. We were all three in Chicago last week at the Label Expo show, and I briefly said hello to you as well, Paolo. As I understand the collaboration and also understand what Ecoleaf and Actega brings to the table is basically a module that fits into the ABG line. So basically you have your typical conversion line, and then you add a module with the Ecoleaf. Is that correctly understood, or have I screwed it up again for myself?
No. It is fully correct. Ecoleaf is a flexible small module that can be installed on the ABG converting embellishment lines, or also on any other printing press machine, new or existing one, maybe on rails, where it's nice to have the movability option of Ecoleaf.
And when you were in Chicago, you didn't have a running machine there. Is that because it's still not in market, or what is the time frame right now for getting Ecoleaf to market? I know you have some beta sites, of course, but I'm very curious about when it's broadly available.
No, it is actually broadly available. The reason why we presented in Chicago is because we even officially opened up the North American market with this event. So we are ready to go to market also in North America. In Europe, we already have commercial installations beside the beta sites that you refer to. So it is commercially available. The only reason why it was not up and running in Chicago is because we, as usual, came a little late, and the setup of machines that ABG had on exhibition was already sold to somebody in the US, and those were not projects with Ecoleaf yet. So. But luckily enough, we were able to at least exhibit Ecoleaf after Drupa 2016. That was its first appearance.
Okay. I just want to say, Can I just say one more thing? Because I just want to say to the people that watches this, when I spoke to Stefan Plens about it, we spoke also about the power of having Actega as the owner of Ecoleaf, because basically Actega is well known globally, and therefore, I mean, when you invest in Ecoleaf, you're not investing in a startup. You're basically investing in a very, very well consolidated company where you have a service organization that are capable of handling everything that you need to handle, right? Is that? I mean, I think that's important to mention to people that may not know about it, right?
Thank you for reminding this, Morten. Absolutely, it's very correct. Actega has a global presence, and in North America, we have a huge setup, so that will help us to get faster to the market with all the services that Ecoleaf will require, which is consumables, basically.
And Matt, I think you must be upset with me right now, because since Paolo is on camera and you're not, I talk more to Paolo than I talk to you, right?
It's not a problem. It makes my life a lot easier. So please carry on.
No, I have a question for you as well, because I mean, basically, as we spoke about the other day, when we look at the offerings and the technology that you provide, how important is it to partner with not just with Ecoleaf, but having partners in general? We spoke about the relationship you have with CERM and the customers with the immersion labels last time, for example. But how important is it for a company like ABG to have these partnerships?
It's very, very important. I mean, we're experts in one particular area, and if we want to broaden our product offering to our customers, we need to work with other companies who are experts in their particular area, and we're very privileged and pleased to be working with Actega and the Altana Group on the Ecoleaf technology. Fantastic chemistry company, and that's going to allow us to offer our customers, I think, a market-leading sustainable foiling technology.
And speaking of Label Expo last week, even though you couldn't show it, I saw some of the samples that you brought to your booth, to ABG booth, where you were exhibiting together with Matt, Paolo. It looks really cool. It looks like the thing we know, and I think also that is the advantage is that when you look at that on the Ecoleaf, you can basically choose whether you have an overprint or you basically use it as more like a typical foiling kind of application. I think that is also good to mention, by the way. Matt, did you get any orders on the Ecoleaf in Chicago, or any interest in that setup that you were presenting?
We've got a lot of interest, and I think just to go back to something you said earlier about the beta testing, we've been beta testing with some of our customers for several years now. Two in Europe and on mainland Europe, and we've recently put one into the UK as well for the digital trigger image, which we'll talk a little bit about later on in the presentation. So we are now, in the past couple of months, we've officially released the module into our product portfolio, and we're going to be doing some kick-off events at the end of the year in our UK facility and bring customers in to demonstrate the technology in our factory on our demo line. So it's really hot off the press. I'm sure we're going to sell a lot of modules and make Paolo very happy. But it's early days, so come back in 6 months' time and ask me the same question, and I'll hopefully have a lot of orders to talk about.
I always like talking to you, Matt, so why not? So that's not a problem. You have prepared a presentation and also a film about Ecoleaf. What should we get started with?
Well, why don't we? The first slide is just.
I just turn on the presentation here.
This is, we've done all this, so why not play the video? It's got sound on, so if you could play the video with sound, that'd be great.
I will go to play the video right now, so stay tuned for a second.
Great.
AB Graphic International are pleased to share Ecoleaf, a climate-conscious approach to metallized embellishment. By working with Actega, we are able to offer a solution that is 5 times more sustainable than conventional cold foiling. The Ecoleaf print metallization unit can be installed on an ABG Digicon or converter and is easily retrofittable onto your existing ABG finishing line. designed to reduce waste whilst offering a high-quality embellishment. 1 kilogram of Ecoleaf metal flakes is the equivalent to 3 tons of conventional foil. This technology works by applying a UV trigger image. This trigger image is applied by either flexo, screen printing, or a digital inkjet solution, and creates a haptic image similar to a 3D effect. Having been UV cured, the trigger image attracts and bonds with the metal flakes inside the Ecoleaf unit, producing a high-quality and highly sustainable metallized finish, similar to traditional foiling techniques, but without the waste. And by using an overprinted varnish, you can achieve foiled effects in any color, including gold. Better for the environment without compromising on quality. Ecoleaf can reduce CO2 emitted on like-for-like print runs by more than 50%, helping you to reduce your business's carbon footprint, while still delivering the highest level of finishing needed for wine and spirit application. Contact ABG today to find out more about sustainable finishing.
Fantastic, guys. Are we back? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you too. So, do you want to continue with the presentation and then we talk a little bit further afterwards?
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a presentation, but I think Paolo and I just wanted to do it more like a conversation. So, if there's anything that you want to chip in with, Morten, feel free to,
super.
To chip in on. Basically, what is Ecoleaf? You know, we touched on that on the video, and Paolo knows a lot more about it than I do. But we see this as an option for our customers to reduce the amount of waste in the metallization of embellished labels using the precise amount of metal required and no need for hot or cold foil and no need for the plastic carriers and all the logistics and the costs and the shipping and the CO2 emissions involved with shipping these big rolls of foil around the world. The Ecoleaf process in 3 steps. So hopefully you're going to see. Can you see the video? Morten?
Looks fine. Yep.
Great, it's playing. Great, fantastic. So as Paolo was talking earlier on, there's 3 main steps in the Ecoleaf process. The step 1 is the printing and the curing of the trigger image, and as we mentioned earlier, we can do that with flexo, rotary or flatbed screen, and more recently we are in partnership with Actega, we are beta testing an inkjet trigger image. You would then cure that trigger image with UV, so we fully cure that trigger image. And then the second part of this process is that we pass that cured trigger image into the Ecoleaf metallization unit. And this process, we transfer the metal pigments onto that trigger image, and they only stick to the area where the trigger image is present. Hopefully that makes sense, Morten, to you. I don't know if that helps with
I do understand it. Don't worry.
Great, cool. And then the final thing we can do is we can overprint. So at the moment, the metallization effect that we can offer our customers is a silver, but we can overprint that silver to create a wide range of metallic colors and effects, including gold. And you can overprint with flexo, with screen, and also with inkjet. So it's a very versatile product in terms of the trigger image and the overprint technology. And Paolo, I don't know whether you want to talk a little bit more detail around the metallization unit and what's going on in that magic box.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Perhaps we would like to explain the audience that what we do in this unit is to recreate the monolayer and the monolith layer of metal flakes, which every converter finds on the reverse side of foils. So we mechanically reproduce that on a donor roller, okay, which is the central unit that you see here rotating, and we create this mirrored like effect of metal flakes, perfectly flat orientated, so that they really mirror the great majority of light, and then we transfer them only to the designated areas where the trigger image was met. So up to this process, let's say everything is equal to the industry of foils, with the great difference that there is no plastic involved at all in this. So we only process the metal flakes, and we don't use plastic as a carrier of those flakes into our machine, in our unit.
Great. So just to follow on from what we've just talked about, so the trigger image can be applied with Flexo, with screen, or with inkjet for the finest possible metallization effect with the highest resolution. We would use a Flexo trigger image. For more tactile metallic effects, so one of the other benefits of this technology is we can create 3D tactile effects by using screen technology for the trigger image, and that sits very well on papers and films, and can be very interesting for beverage label applications. And then finally, we also have the inkjet trigger image that we're working on with Actega at the moment, and we have a beta site in the UK right now to create a full digital process. So printing the trigger image digitally and then applying the Ecoleaf technology on top to create a variable digital foil or metallization effect. Anything else, Paolo, you want to add on that?
Each printing method, of course, has its own benefits. And like you said, for example, on the high definition of flexography, the advantage is that it's a KISS printing technology. So we are able to match perfectly fine lines, details like QR or barcodes. And I would say even much better than the foils, because what we don't have here is the stripping effect. In foils, you laminate your cold foil onto the wet image, wet glue, and then you go through the UV lamp and then you strip off the foil. But when you do the stripping on the fine lines, you tend to have a sort of dented, broken details, which is not happening with Ecoleaf, because we have not having foil, we don't have any stripping defect. So we are able to enhance even further the quality of fine details. And then those haptic effects are really nice on open fiber papers like wine and spirits industry, where according to the type of mesh that we are going to use, we can really apply very thick layers of trigger image, and therefore to have this kind of 3D deposition of metal, which really looks fine.
You said that, of course, the glue is the transfer for thing is the trigger image is UV cured before you have the Ecoleafs. Does that mean that that the technology can be used on almost any substrate?
Yes, I would really say so. I mean, we tried it on all coated, uncoated papers, filmic substrates, including IML. So obviously there are still a few limitations here and there on the vast variety of PS labels that are available today in the industry. But for those where we have still limitations, we also have workaround solutions with primers. So I would say yes, the range of substrates on which we can apply it is really kind of infinite.
Cool. Paolo, do you want to comment on the flakes?
I will perhaps. So here, what we try to explain is, because Ecoleaf is a fantastic alternative to foils, but also to many metallized substrates, and also in many cases for our narrow web industry, it's a good alternative to rotogravure inks, which our tendency is inexpensive, good looking, but definitely not in the same quality range like foils. So just as an example, here on the left we have a picture from the microscope of a fragmented, mechanically produced conventional pigments, which you normally find in gravure or metallic inks. And you can see that the flakes are quite irregular on dimensions, very variable, very broken. They have very broken edges, and when they lay down, in most cases, they don't have time enough to set properly flat. Therefore, they have this irregular positioning and tilting. The result we see from the drawing at the top is that most of the light is then scattering on the edges of the flakes. So we have with gravure inks very little reflection rate of the image, of the metallic image. While on the right-hand side, we see the PVD flakes. Those are physical vacuum deposited flakes, which is exactly the technology that is used in manufacturing foils. The only difference is that in the foil industry, the foil remains the carrier of those pigments to the machine point throughout the ocean and throughout transportation on trucks, etc. While in our process, we simply scrap off these PVD flakes from the foil, which is used to manufacture the flakes, and we collect those flakes in a water dispersion. And there is where, with 1 kilogram of our flakes, we are able to substitute up to 3 tons of plastic foils from being transported all around the world. These PVD flakes are extremely smaller than conventional pigments. They are much more regular in shape. And what we do in the Ecoleaf unit with that offset process that I was trying to explain, we polish them perfectly flat on the surface of our donor roller so that they take this monolith appearance that you see in the microscope picture. And being so flat and so even, we have a very high reflection rate. So most of the light will reflect on the surface and just a minimal portion will be scattering in every direction. There is where we are able to achieve today that wow effect on samples that Morten was referring to from Chicago, where we really look like a foil mirrored quality.
Great.
Cool. So the other fantastic opportunity with this technology, and we talked about this earlier, is to overprint the Ecoleaf metallization effect with different colors. And through this, we can create a wide range of metallic effects using only one base pigment in terms of the silver. You can see some examples on the screen here, but this opens a huge range of possibilities for our customers to provide metallic effects in a very simple way. When you actually look at a unit and you run, and I've seen them running obviously through our beta testing and development stages, there's a lot less going on for the operator in terms of setting a job up and running a job in comparison to traditional hot foil and cold foil effects. And I think that through this process is also allowing us to de-skill the metallization effect that will be applied to labels and packaging. And then once we've done that, we can then apply an overprint color to change the effect and the overall look of the Ecoleaf. I don't know, Paolo, if you wanted to mention anything else on that front?
Yep, no, I
Okay.
think you had it perfectly here.
I did something right. Thank you. Great. And then Paolo's obviously mentioned this already, but the main driver behind ABG's interest in the partnership is the fact that this is a significantly more sustainable solution in comparison to existing foil technologies. And yes, it's in its infancy, and yes, it's early days, but longer term, we see a huge potential for this Ecoleaf technology in our market space. And as ABG, we want to sell as many units as possible. But it's a fantastic solution, has real significant impact on customers' CO2 footprints when producing foil-like effects and metallization on packaging. We talked about the reduction in logistics requirements. We're only applying the pigments where we need them. The massive reduction in the plastic production, the technology adjustments towards new food regulations, and obviously the CO2 footprint implications of shipping pigments that you see on the right-hand side as opposed to huge rolls of foil is significant. And it's worthwhile noting that, when people use hot foil and cold foil today, they're typically only using 10 or 20% of that foil that is on the roll. The rest of it is wasted and scrapped, and most of it is incinerated. So it's an extremely wasteful process. And Paolo, I don't know whether you want to talk about the auditing and the study that you did.
Yes, especially because I think really here we need to have a look at that like with a holistic approach. Like you correctly mentioned, Matt, it's about logistics. It's about this industry used to use this technology for the last probably 100 years, first with hot stamping and nowadays mostly with cold foils. And everybody in the industry seems to accept this fact that, yes, I buy full width of roll and I'm available to waste 90-80% of it. In best cases, when they can use the foils twice or change the imposition of the graphics, they are probably able to save, let's say, 50% of the metal quality that is carried on the foil. But they accept that the balance becomes a scrap after a few minutes or a few hours of production. It is accepted because that until yesterday was actually the only way to get quality metallization on labels or any other printed job. But from tomorrow with Ecoleaf, we are really trying to change this disaster of wastage. And there is where we say with 1 kilogram of our metal pigments, because you can imagine that it's a very light powder, so we can transport tons of that in the space of containers and probably ships of foil industry. So we are able really to become a game changer for the industry, for the ESG plans of our customers and the brand owners, because at the end of the day, all this goes in the benefit of the planet, so the consumers, but I would say majorly for the brand owners who are really searching for solutions to become more and more sustainable and to have a green messaging. On top of that, Ecoleaf is not just sustainable, a lot more sustainable than foils, and this we prove with our life cycle assessment study. But it's also made for recycling. So we run several tests with Interceroc, which is an institutional laboratory, to make sure that Ecoleaf as a metal pigment is not going to interfere with the sorting plants, with the current technologies of scanners and cameras at the sorting plants. And we coated with Ecoleaf labels up to 75%, and we were absolutely able to read the type of container at the bottom. So being a PE bottle or a PET bottle, they remain fully recognizable. So this one is in particular against metallized substrates, which are normally not sortable with the current technologies in the plants. So it's a real game changer.
Fantastic. I have to be the devil's advocate. That's my job, right? The sustainability thing is great, and we are working on a magazine about sustainability. So I will get back to you on this on a later stage, because that could be interesting. I was thinking of when a company uses foil today and maybe move to Ecoleaf in the future. How worried should you be that it's a proprietary technology in case of monopoly market situations?
Well, yes, it's a very good point, Morten. I mean, if I was a converter, I would not be afraid, and still for many years, about this, for a simple reason.
Because you have you need some time until you have 100% market dominance. That's what you mean, right?
We will never get it. We will never get it. And here I also want to tell to the competitors that feel maybe afraid or feared by Ecoleaf, the new Morning Star, and taking market portion. Yes, we will take, but I don't see foil to disappear, unfortunately, but good for my competitors from the equation, because it's such a well-developed industry, and for many applications we will not be suitable. Our aim is to take a portion of that. I see these technologies will coexist in future. They will not kill each other.
That was actually my second question, because with all technologies, I totally understand that your job is, of course, to talk the Ecoleaf up, not not to talk anything other things down, but the market also, when you look at digital print, and if you look at flexo versus offset versus hybrids and things like that, there's often a truth in between, right? So I was just a little bit curious about those kind of things, but
exactly.
Super great.
I think Morten, from an ABG perspective, to add some context to that point, we feel that we will be selling cold foil and hot foil solutions for many years to come, but as a percentage of the foiling solutions that we sell to our customers, we believe that we will be selling more and more Ecoleaf solutions over the coming years.
But I understand that when you see a presentation and you see the numbers and you see the impact on the environment, of course it makes sense to do anything that is more sustainable. Of course it makes sense to make things that are easier to transport. It of course everything makes sense, and I think also from a consumer and a converter perspective, it's great to have something that technology evolves, and this is an opportunity to dig into technology that makes sense in almost everything. I think that what is interesting is when we start to see, and I appreciate you said that, Paolo, because I wouldn't say that I felt that it was a little bit like, okay, can we see something? We just didn't have the opportunity to see any printing companies yet utilizing it. But you say they are out there. We have just not visited them yet. So that is interesting, of course. So this is as you said, first phase or step one of a technology that will probably change a lot in this embellishment. And embellishment is not to go away. That is for sure.
Exactly. We don't want embellishment to go away, not because we are in that industry, because as consumers, we all like beauty, and we know that for brand owners, what is really selling is the eye-catching factor, right? And we all like beautiful things. So we want embellishment to stay and even to enhance it as much as possible. The problem is the other way around, is that the pressure is coming from the bottom, from the consumers, who
100%,
pretend to have more sustainable packaging. Unfortunately, sustainability and better quality normally don't go hands in hands. So which one do you want to prioritize? Well, with Ecoleaf, we give the possibility to brand owners to remain shiny on the shelf, but equally to increase their sustainability path a lot.
Do we have more slides, Matt?
Hold on. Yeah, some up, but I think we've talked about everything. So yeah, no, we're far away. I think that's it, Morten.
Okay. I was just thinking that I will do this, and then I will add Matt to it again here, or the shadow of Matt.
Shape is pretty matching, by the way.
Yeah, it actually looks like. I mean, there's two versions of Matt because sometimes he has a beard and sometimes he is actually. So I understand why you are smiling, Paolo, because it seems that the innovation that started in Landa's lab in Israel years ago is getting to market, and we spoke about that it may not replace, but what is the market opportunity? If you see it from your perspective, is it? I think it seems there's a huge potential, but can you make it a global thing with the strength of Actega and the money it requires to get going, or and what is the time frame in your perspective to get like a reasonable market share?
Well, define a reasonable market share. I mean, we have our targets, of course.
Stefan wants it to be very fast, so tomorrow is better than yesterday, or something like this, right?
Don't tell me.
Don't tell me.
The pressure we have is amazing because, yes, Actega have invested many millions in this project, and will continue to invest because we see embellishment not ending up just in the self-adhesive label industry with the narrower machines, but we want really to go wider and approach one at a point in time also the sheet fed industry. That's where Stefan comes even more into the picture. But yeah, our targets are very high, and that's why we choose the partner, a technological partner like ABG, also to speed up the entrance into the market, because we consider ABG as the global leader in when it comes to innovation. I mean, if you go to their booth, there is not a single technical solution missing, right? So
That's true.
Ecoleaf perfectly fits like a cherry on the top of the entire ABG cake. And for us, the aim is to be able to substitute a good 10% of the global foil industry in the coming 10 years. Now, this path, how, let's say, stiff this curve towards taking such a portion will be is difficult to say, because I think it will also be a lot legal, let's say, legislation driven. We see that green economy is getting more and more a topic. We see that the European community and all institutions push towards solutions, but with the war in Ukraine and now the lack of energies, we also see a little bit of throwback towards okay, whatever it is, as long as we do it. So time will also depend a lot, really, on the shared sensibility that the politicians will give to the industry.
I have one more question for you, Paolo, and then I have a few for you as well, Matt. A converter looking into this, when you can turn 1 kilo into, was it 3 million tons? 3 tons?
3 tons.
So that basically means that 1 kilo costs the same as 3 tons of foil, or?
Okay,
but I was just joking.
Yeah.
I was wondering how it is with the economy from a converter perspective.
Yeah, no. So the answer is yes and no, of course. So we sell Ecoleaf basically in the same values of foil, let's say not per kilo, but let's say per square meter. But what a converter really has to keep in mind is the entire process. So not just the square meter,
because they don't have the forms and they don't have the setup time. So basically, the total cost of production is different.
The total cost of ownership and the total cost of production, because in foils, everybody knows how many machine stops for changeover they have to go through, and that is a valuable time. It's machine time, it's operator, it's waste, because every machine stop leads to necessary waste due to registration, etc. And these are all factors that obviously needs to be kept into consideration when you compare a completely new technology, which is a green or red button. I need to metallize. I press green, and it acts like a ink unit, let me say, where as long as you have pigment inside, you can use it and reuse it until the end. And with one bucket, customer could easily run for 1 year without stopping. So
Wow.
just
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is where you really can get great economies.
And Matt, how important a KPI is it for ABG when selling? Because today's topic is embellishment, and I take that as you said, cold foil and hot foil will not go away. Laser cutting is part of the embellishment process. If you look at the lamination, I mean, there's a lot of things going into that broader term of embellishment. When ABG partners with Ecoleaf, how important is that in your positioning to the market in more general terms, not specifically to the Actega thing, and not to the partnership, but more to your customer side?
This is massively important. It's showing our customers that we are a very innovative company, that we're trying to find new ways to make their businesses more profitable or to increase their sales through different types of embellishment. So this partnership and many of our other partnerships are incredibly important to us. And it becomes a module. The other benefit of our technology is that it's a modular platform, and we can configure it like a Lego set, depending on what our customers want from us. So this is a fantastic module and technology for us to be able to offer our customers. It's also retrofittable as well. So we can go to our existing customer base, which is significant now, and offer them this technology as a retrofit. So it's incredibly exciting. It's part of a much bigger picture, but it's all about innovation and keeping our R&D and customer solutions going.
Gentlemen, it's been fantastic talking to you. It was a great pleasure to see that you were also joining, Paolo. So maybe you stole the scene a little bit, but that is how you can see that Matt, he is basically the hidden man behind everything, because he's just a shadow of himself, right? I hope you enjoyed this session here. I will cut it and trim it so it will be an individual episode on INKISH TV later today. So I hope you have enjoyed everything, and both you two guys, but also the audience, of course. And I can tell you just before we will have a small 12 minutes break, and then we will have Uffe from GM is coming in to, I think he will actually show us some laser die cutting. It's not die cutting, laser cutting, in just at 12 o'clock. So again, thank you for being a very good supporter, Matt, and Paolo. It was great to meet you. I hope to see you both in person at some show or at a customer side or something like that very soon. And again, I thank you for your support of the finishing line. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.